right back here with you, rabbit holes. Sarah,
Hey, we're back.
we're back in styling, and also here to remind you guys, hey, still looking for PSAs. We saw a few good mentions on Instagram. We're gonna be contacting those nonprofits. We're gonna get them on here, just like Uncle at Paupenna. A lot of good submissions to that form. Still just trying to do the exchange, but I think I'm gonna have to add people's phone numbers on the first leg of the form because I don't know if it's like getting lost in the spam or something, but we'll figure it out. But that being said, as far as it looks, next week I should have my first official Mainland Talk Story guest, and it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. We'll talk more about her later. But yeah, don't forget, if you got a nonprofit, community organization, church, man, I don't even care if it's just a bat mitzvah or a quinceañera, man. You tell me, we'll announce it. We announce local events. That's what a good, broadcast show should do for its community. All right.
Exactly.
And I'm trying to, so for those of you who don't know, once upon a time, before Ronald Reagan came in office, we had this beautiful thing called the Fairness Doctrine. And it kind of said you had to make news for everybody and you had to provide access to all the resources in your community whether you be a news source or a pamphlet or newsletter. It didn't matter. If you were going to. Yes. So it kept broadcasters from being partisan. Okay, so even if a Republican, I still have to do news about liberal things. It is well, to me, I feel it's a privilege because I'm telling news about people that I don't normally like. It's stuff that I don't personally go over, but because I try to read more news and open my mind to more news, that's what makes it able for me to talk across the aisle to other people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like it's kind of been a fascination of mine for the longest time when I found out about it as a kid, and then when I had the dream of like getting into pirate radio and then into broadcasting and then my first podcast and then my 10th podcast, and here we are. And it's kind of been a dream of mine to revive the fairness doctrine in the sense of just like, I mean, I don't really, if you could hold all of the current broadcasting models to that standard, CBS still comes close. CBS has always been pretty fairness doctrine oriented. NBC, like 90% of its properties, but it still has like that liberal swing. CNN has its central moments, but it tends to have a liberal point of view. Fox is obviously Republican ideals, and also the tinfoil hat crowd too. If you liberal folks would like to take some of the tinfoil hats off of our plate, it would really make us look less crazy, and all of us together as a collective, pleasantly crazy. I don't know. But anyways, back to the point. Okay. So the greatest rabbit hole of them all is I'm trying to chase a childhood dream of like actually being a legitimate radio station. And I feel that like podcasts don't think about that, And I think that like for bringing this show to life, like I really want to be able to say, yes, we cover Maui. Yes, we then cover Hawaii, but then we still cover the rest of the world. We still cover the mainland. Because, also in a lot of sense,
a little bit of everything with us. Just a little bit of everything.
Yeah. But when you think about like, it's still not a lot. I mean, we even cut stuff like as we're up to the episode, just trying to, right before recording. A lot of the time.
Not enough time to stay at home.
And then there's a lot of things you got to cut out of the news. So then I feel that in a lot of cases that things get lost just because, and I'm not trying to like paint a picture against like corporate media at all. That's not even what I'm against. Every other Republican can carry that torch. That is not my torch. It is not my crust to bear. I will not venture across that desert. But with that being said, send us your PSAs and also political candidates of Maui, of Hawaii, hell, of the United States. We'll play that game too. I'd love to talk to any of the politicians. But as such, with that, that whole fairness doctrine model is you have to have an equal amount of candidates from both sides. That used to be a rule in broadcasting. Now, yes,
it's not a rule anymore?
Well,
or it's just more of an ethical thing where it's like you should do it, but you don't necessarily have to.
because so what in a lot of cases what happens is like Fox will go and get their Republican candidate and they'll put them on, and then they'll send a letter, an old-fashioned snail mail, and they'll go, "Hey, Bernie Sanders, we gave time to your competitor. You should totally come on." And then it's like, we sent them a letter. And then Bernie Sanders is like, I read every letter. I'm coming for you, Fox. And then he shows up. Because so they try not to find a way to have him on because
but he makes his way. Well, that's
he
good.
does, because you know what?
Good.
There's something about that beautiful guy. He just gets us all excited. You know how many Republicans I met at the Bernie rally in 2016?
Republicans at the Bernie rally?
Yeah, so I went to the Bernie Sanders rally in 2016, and I actually went with a whole contingent of people that were Republicans who were going to vote Democrat because of how badass Bernie Sanders was and is. Yeah, no, I was so close. Like I
was there. I was really confused there for a second because I was like, "Wait, isn't Bernie Democrat?" And
yeah. Well, no,
he's
a progressive independent. There's a lot of times where he's been registered as an independent when he's run. There were a few years. Yeah, there's a few years where he had to go independent just because he felt the Democratic Party wasn't living up to its standards.
Do you think that helps him win both parties?
Yes, because we recognize that he's more about the values than the party lines.
Right. I love that. And that's how it should be, right? It should be about the core values, not necessarily what side.
Exactly. And in a world where it's like usually constantly like graying old white dudes, like he's one of the few that we'll listen to because like Uncle Bernie knows what's going down. But yeah. Oh yeah, no, I'll show you. It's on my Facebook, on my personal one.
Yeah,
not on my pro one, but yeah. But no, I took so many photos that day. Oh yes, no, we have to cover a lot because you know what? Half you guys don't want to talk about it. Half you guys are trying to escape from it. So that's why we trick you into thinking that it's full of hyperbole, but it's actually just the guy who says like every 5 words and then has something smart to say every other 10. And an amazing woman who does a lot of preparation to get us on here and make this functional every week. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors at this point. But on our way out of the smoke and mirrors, let's try to play a game that most broadcasters don't do. So equal time for the community, equal time for political candidates, and sometimes I'm going to report to you things that are not necessarily things that I know to believe in because of where I come from, but because there are enough people on the other side who are vetted and have said these things. We're here to report on what they have to say. So, be warned. This show is for everyone.
For me, I'm not on one side because I don't really know much about politics. So this is great for me to kind of get both sides too.
Yeah.
So it's great. Yeah.
Good
goal, Kawika.
Dig it. All right. So after we pumped ourselves up, let's just get dark really fast. Homeless and impoverished children of Hawaii. Can I get things that have to live out of a van for 100, Alex? Boop boop. What are the keikis?
Pretty sad.
Yeah, no, I think, as I was saying to Sarah earlier, we're just going to hammer this into your head, everyone. Not just you, Maui, not just you, Hawaii, but listen up, mainland. Listen up, everyone, far and wide, for all your ears can hear. We will find a million different ways to remind you that the economy is not what it should be. And that people are in poverty. We need to be looking out for each other. We need to be aware of each other. When you hear news like this, if it makes you angry, try to turn it into a solution. Don't turn it back on the poor people. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. That there's a lot of contention going around right now. Like, we're starting to see employers lashing back at employees, going, "Why do you want more money?" Even though profits are at an all-time high, this is just as bad as the 80s. This is just as bad as the 20s.
Exactly. Still trying to pay people lower than what they should be.
It's crazy. And then on top of it, which is funny because they're trying to set up There's case studies going on where they're trying to set up a 4-day work week.
Really? A 4-day work week?
Yeah. Well, because there's a lot of first world countries that only, it's like 36 hours a week, tops. And they pay. Yeah. Could you imagine?
I like that. So people actually feel like they have a life outside of work and they can enjoy their.
Yeah, but here's the rub. Okay.
Uh-oh,
this is the part where like doing this in America, like Canada's doing a case study and we're doing a case study in America. I think in Canada it might work itself out. But the problem here in America is if minimum wage isn't paying the cost of living, and then
then how is taking a day off of our work week gonna help us at all? That's very, very true. First, we need to pay people what they should be paying or what they should be getting, and then do a case study to see if it works.
Yes, exactamundo, Cupido for the lady. Yeah, no, that's exactly what the problem is. So like this study is not going to come back with anything conclusive because you know what it's just going to prove to me.
Study.
No, you know what it's going to do? It's going to open up a window for you to now have 4 jobs instead of 3. That's what it's gonna do.
Great.
Yeah.
My Friday night job.
Well, and actually, I'm gonna double down there. It's gonna make you have 5 jobs because if the minimum hours required to be full time is going to drop another 4 hours or 8 hours on the payroll scale, that means they're gonna hire people for 1 to 2 hours less, so you're not full time anymore. Just like they've been doing for the past 20 years, okay? All you lucky boomers and older out there that have been tenured in these jobs that give you 40 to 60 hours a week, boy, you're fucking lucky. Try growing up an entire generation where you have to take on 3 jobs that barely pay the cost of living because they're not going to employ you for more than 32 hours.
Wow.
That's like California life growing up as a kid. Yeah, so this is a 28-hour a week job. Oh, so I don't get bennies. Thanks.
Actually, I do remember that in working in the food industry, working in restaurants.
Oh, and you had it worse because you were in the Midwest. You were in the Midwest, like
you'd get close to getting that 4. They'd be like, you can't pick up that shift. You can't pick up that shift. No, that's gonna be you on overtime. We don't do that.
Yep. No, I had friends who worked at a Cracker Barrel in Colorado for like $2.65 an hour. And it was crazy because I was just moving to Missouri at the time and I was working for Ritz Camera. So back in the 1-hour photo days. And so I managed to use my tenure working for them in California to go move to a store in Missouri so I could just change the pace, change my life, change everything, spend some time out there. And so like I went and I worked in one of their stores before they shut down out there, and the looks I got from people, because Ritz was cool enough to be a company that whatever you made in your previous state transferred over. So I was so as a lab guy, I was making like $16 an hour in a time where like California minimum wage was $7 and some change.
Oh wow! So you're doing good.
I was already making double. So then now move that to Missouri, and so then in Missouri, like
you were living large, huh?
Yeah, exactly, because like most of my friends were making like $5, $6, $7 an hour if they were lucky. And then most of my art student friends, because I made a lot of friends with people who were going to the art program out there at KCMO, and found out that like they have like this non-compete clause in your being a student. So like you can't take commission work for a few years.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's this whole journeyman artist, like you can go vocationally work at like a sign painting shop, but if someone like commissions you to like make something for the Met, they're like, nope, can't do that. You're still in school. Yeah, weird. So it led to this really cool economy of up and coming artists learning to also spray paint in their off time. And local businesses would pay top dollar to get the hottest tags put on their buildings, and the gangs wouldn't tag over them out of respect.
That's cool.
So art protected.
I don't respect the games. Like, nah, that's good work right there.
Oh yeah, I've got so many photos from my time out there, and you can still find it out in Kansas City. Like, that's probably one of the coolest things that people don't talk about Kansas City is the street art. Like, there's a lot of really good tagging art out there, and I'm not a huge urban art scene guy, but if there's anything about like how do you give a facelift to the ghetto? How do you give a facelift to urban decay when
I love how you put it.
When all you've got is $2?
You can have that urban flavor. Let's spice it up and make it
exactly.
artsy.
I got $25. That's enough paint to cover this wall. That's a hell of a lot better than Uncle Sam going, we have nothing in our budget to give you this month. Gee, thanks, whitest guys we know. Yeah. Yeah. So look at that tangent we went on. All I said was children are poor in Hawaii, and that's where we went.
Rabbit hole
and that
for you.
and that's 8 minutes gone. We're there. We're there, kids. We're making it happen. But no, yeah.
What's next?
It's not even what's next. We should finish that thought of like, so Aloha United Way did a study recently. So 35,000 kids living in households at or below the federal poverty line in Hawaii. And that's pre-pandemic numbers.
Oh, that's pre-pandemic. Oh, it's way more. I mean, I remember going to like the beach up by Baldwin, and there was literally families camping out there. Like there was a whole like community on the beach with kids, and that was before the pandemic.
And it's getting to a point to where, like, I mean, I feel that the more we say it, the more we have to recognize it. But then at the same time, how many people be like, I don't want to hear it anymore, and then just put their fingers in their ears, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to hear. It is hard to hear knowing that that's going on in your own community, but we need to know so that we can address it.
But if you're lucky enough to be paying for one bill to be listening to this silly ass show, brah, go help someone who needs it. Yeah. Speaking of people helping people who need things, apparently there's this brother over in Oahu who just scooped up 283 acres of old dole land and is like redistributing it. And like, he's not giving it away, but like $63,000 an acre, that's a good deal. And apparently he's already lined it up and vetted all of the plots. Like he says they're going to be closing by September. So
this
like,
is a good guy. Who is this guy? Like, why is he doing this? How did he get the money to do this? Like, who is he?
He's a developer. His name's Peter Savio. I don't know too much about this guy. We need to look into him a little more because, like,
he seems like amazing.
Yes, but then also, but caveat emptor, buyer beware. You know, you never know. Like, developer is a double-edged sword, even with their own people. So just, you know, I'm wishing for all the best. You can't hear it, but I'm crossing my fingers, people.
Yeah, I guess you just never know what somebody's motive could possibly be.
But I'm not saying that against this actual case because, I mean, for everything that I've read so far, like, this is a really good step forward. This is one of, like, the yay we win things, especially how the fact that, like, I mean, at the current rate of things, like, now that the pandemic's over, like, the TMT could ramp up again. We could be losing more space for the homeless just because, like, construction guys can go back to work and stuff like that. You know, all non-essential construction's back on. And what's more non-essential than more freaking colonizer homes coming to Hawaii? So, and you know they're going to kick them up because the only way that half of these developers can afford to do these cheaper homes is because they get granted the ability to go build a multi-million-dollar property.
Oh, that's right. We talked about this in a previous.
Right. That's the only other thing. There's always another side. So all I gotta say is like this. I will say this: not many of these developers give us the affordable houses first, though. So this
is true.
So this is already. This is a 2 out of 3 so far, and we haven't even found a third reason to kvetch about him yet. So. Like, I've already thrown 2 arrows at this conversation, and he's more or less passing. So like
Mhm.
they giving us affordable homes before unless he built a whole treasure trove of homes that I haven't heard about. But then again, like Oahu's so overdeveloped. I just
Yeah.
don't.
At
I
this
don't.
rate, though, he's doing good. So let's just cross our fingers that he's on the right path
Yeah.
still.
I only visit Oahu for birthdays and work. So after my auntie went passed away, Oahu was never the same to me because she was like she old school broad. So like she like man, she is. That was like that was the first house that I stayed at when I came back from the mainland, and I had just become old enough to actually like have a circadian rhythm, and you're like you have that whole like going back in time to Hawaii thing. So like I'd been it was like 8 or 9 staying at my auntie's, and then like I woke up at 5. Because like your body's like, this is 7 o'clock in California. This is 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, I could watch Price is Right today because I'm up early. But yeah, no, that was like the first time I noticed like the go up and get it, and the only other person that would be up at that hour was her, and she would already be like sipping her tea and sitting there and just like,
that's my morning routine. Yep, get up at 5 each day. Get an hour to yourself before the rest of the world wakes up.
Exactly. Got to get all those farts in private before the world finds out.
Right. Gotta let the farts out, right?
That's right. That's right. All right. So, last thing in the Hawaii news before we take a little break here. There's been talk. There was a second reading of they passed the second reading in the Senate that they're trying to establish Observation of Restoration Day. So this is really good news for like the Ho'iho'i'ea camp because which actually it was pretty cool because I got to go to the Ho'iho'i'ea.
What is this? What is this? I've never heard of it.
All right. So the first time colonials showed up, we actually took it to a world stage. And see, here, you want to learn about a chip on people's shoulders? Like, you want to understand why Hawaiians we got a chip on our shoulders?
I want to hear it. Yeah.
All right. And then for all of you young Kanakas on the mainland who wonder why your uncle or your grandfather, they got that chip on their shoulders, this is why, kids. All right. So to understand our fight against the occupation of America, you have to understand the due diligence and like bureaucracy of the known world before America showed up and like threw away the chessboard and forced us all to play checkers again. Because that's really what it is. It's like the rest of the world plays chess and America forces you to play checkers. And so they're like, what do these parts do? And we're like, these parts don't even go on our board. It's like, this is the only country in the world that's still using standard measurement. Why aren't we on metric with everybody else? Why?
Gotta be different.
I mean, I totally love fractions. There's a lot we can learn from fractions, but you want to go to outer space, it's metric, bro. So it just. Anyways, I digress. So the British come in. All right. So this guy comes in, he make trouble, and he's like, I claim Hawaii in the name of Britain. And we're like, fuck you, bro. We're Hawaii. You can't own us. And he's like, I will put a flag here and I will occupy here and you will give me this country.
I call it is mine.
Yeah. No, yeah, totally. And I've now spit on it. I own it. I've licked your bagel. Your bagel is my bagel. Takes these backseas. So, so we're like, bro,
legit reason to have a chip on your shoulder.
And we and so we already had a monarchy going. We already had we even had some unofficial stuff already going on.
Someone just comes in and puts their boot on there and thinks they can just take over.
So then we wave the flag and we go like, hey, guys, you just recently recognized us on an international stage as an independent country with a successful monarchy. And you were like, what are we going to do next? And we were like, bro, we're going to Disneyland in 100 years when it opens. But will you please get the United Kingdom out of our backyard? And so the world stage got together, pre-United Nations. And they were like, hey, guys, Hawaii is its own country. Leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah.
So Britain was told to back the fuck up.
And now, did they back the fuck up?
They did. And so then that's how we got Restoration Day, because then we were like, their unsuccessful occupation became our like, and we did it with, it was predominantly like paperwork and sweat. I mean, that, minor altercations, but like it was really like Hawaii was really good at the world bureaucracy game back then. Like it could tie up international shit and red tape and be like, bah. Hey man, everybody knows that ante at the DMV. That's what all of Hawaii was like for like 110 years, bro.
You don't
like,
mess with.
Pat. No, the second no, and get this, like, and especially like if you like reading diaries and blogs and stuff like that, for you those kids out there who like enjoy 3 minutes on TikTok every day, like go back and read the greats. Like the queens, the princes, all the monarchs, they have their own memoirs and journals. Really good monarchs write diaries. All right? So if you really want to learn about the history of a time, find diaries of prominent people. Everybody wrote diaries, okay? So don't think that writing a blog's an original thing. I mean, shit, before Mary Shelley wrote Prometheus, Frankenstein, right? Before she invented an entire genre, she was essentially a travelogue novelist.
Really?
So she was, yeah. So she wrote, like, she went to the Alps and she was like, and then I spent a week in Chamonix and the Alps are beautiful. And everybody's like, that's some basic ass shit. I hate the blog era, right? Which, like, kind of, if you go back through classic, but there's a lot of books that are not in print anymore. Purely out of the fact that they're like memoirs that were only printed in a region. Like, you're from Chicago, right? You've got some Chicago roots, right? Do you know anything about the history of buildings that have moved across town?
Buildings that have moved across town?
Yeah. Okay.
No.
So,
what do you mean?
Oh, man. Oh, I'm going to try to boil this down quick and then we'll crazily find a way back from our tangent. But no. So get this. During the invention of modern plumbing, in the post-industrial era of the United States, they had to jack up buildings to install pipes underneath and in the ground, all right?
Yep.
So they would literally use the same lifts that you'd use to lift trains in their boilers, and you'd put them on stilts. And so Chicago was nearly jacked up like 15 extra feet for a couple years. And then in some cases, because the new plumbing features would cause a displacement, that some buildings were even placed on the backs of train cars and transported across town.
Damn! How did I not know that?
Yeah. And you can learn that from like reading diaries from the time.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Huh. Reading the diaries.
So things to know about, like, from those diaries, like, so like Queen Liliuokalani, Princess Kaiulani, they did their own diaries and their own, they wrote their piece. But like there's cool parts in between, like we were invited to the Jubilee. Okay? That's an event. Jubilee is an event that the Queen's Jubilee. Okay? It's a centennial event. So they invited out the monarchy. And then they actually, which was kind of cool, they were like trying to dip hardcore shade on their cousins at the time. So they let the whole Hawaiian unit sit in the friends and family section and then drop shade by pushing their extended family back one aisle. That was considered a total faux pas back then. But
really?
No, and then the best part is like you got all these big Hawaiian people sitting in front of you. So you like they're just gonna be mousy little. They're just like, yeah. So like,
can't see from the back.
Yeah. So if you want to read about the time that the Queen Mom used the Hawaiians to cuck her family, that's pretty much it. She like razzed them in public by like, you sit one aisle back, please. Yes, that's right. Our new friends sit right here.
So petty.
Yeah.
So petty.
Yeah. Hey, sheesh, man, ain't no different than what they do now.
Oh, that's true.
Exactly. But anyways, we were good at the bureaucracy stuff. We were really good at being able to tie up the world in red tape just as any other country and prove it on paper and into pudding that we were our own country. And so this managed to help hold the line for the monarchy for quite some time. But then as America would eventually come in and occupy us, it was that the craziest part was that we got forced into a scenario that the world believes that, like, we need everybody else to survive, like, World War III or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the dumbest thing that like, any, like, that I've gotten from, like, I'm not colorblind, I'm colorblind Howley crowd that doesn't, like, the first thing that they say to me is, well, where would Hawaii go? What do you mean? We'd be our own country. Well, where would they go? What? We don't have to join another country, bro. Like,
you can be on your own.
Yeah, look at how many other, like, Micronesian, Polynesian islands are. I mean,
why would Hawaii be any different?
Exactly.
Because they're just closer to the United States. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. No, I mean, but I mean, it's more of a tactical thing. They want to use this as a fucking buffer.
Yeah.
You know, and so coming back from that, this is why the occupation of America gets our blood boiling, because there was a time when the world would hear our cry for help, and we'd sound the horn and we go, bro, they're not like
we're being screwed over here. Hello.
Just think about this, kids. We were Ukraine 100 years ago. That's all what it comes down to. Think about that. So, you know, and that's the thing is, like, I don't support Ukraine as an American. I support Ukraine as a Hawaiian, because that's a colonial terror. I know what it's like to be occupied and then displaced. Occupied and then displaced. All right? Because Hawaiians are just a different type of refugee. Like, it's the way we are indigenous refugees, to coin a phrase. You know, because we belong to a part of America that we were native to, but then we immediately got shoved somewhere else. And then the crazy part is that it develops a whole different narrative between those two, culture within a culture, because of, like, all the colonial problems that come with the mainland. And I could get into all that a whole nother time, but to the point of Restoration Day and recognizing it's a really good thing. But let's see if this, I feel that a lot of the current legislator that's active and this Democrat lean that's going on in Hawaii, the problem with it is most of it's for show. It's political theater. So this is great that they want to give us Restoration Day as a holiday, but you know what'd be really good? How about we have Restoration Day 2.0 and you just give us back the country, bro?
Ooh, how about that?
How about that?
Easy way out.
Yep.
How about we give you guys a day? Huh? Will you be happy with a day?
I'd be happy with more than...
Let's just give you guys a little day. You should be happy with that. Like,
you know what? But instead, I'm just going to give us a moment after these messages and hope I don't have a heart attack from that thought. Moving forward.
We live in a fast-paced world where many people are too busy to sit down and read books or news articles. But thanks to Newsly, you can now listen to the news you wish you had the time to read. By utilizing AI technology, a natural human voice reads you the news, helping you grasp the information faster and more efficiently. Newsly provides the latest news updates 24/7, letting you browse articles from topics you choose. It even has podcasts, including ours. And listeners of Rabbit Holes can get their first 30 days of premium for free, allowing you to enjoy an ad-free experience by using the special promo code in our episode description. So download Newsly today for free on iOS and Android, or visit www.newsly.me so you can stay updated on the things that matter to you.
Moving forward. You. Hey, we're back, Sarah.
We're back.
We're back. Guess who's back? We back. and who cares? Because apparently America doesn't care. So in today's Mainland and International segment, apparently in America's constant effort to rediscover problems it already has, but give it new names so that way you can treat it as a new problem and never solve it. So that way in 4 years, when someone else inherits the problem, they too can rename it and call it something new. So, this is where I like these are the moments where we pick fun at the mainstream media. Like, there are a lot of things that, like, the tinfoil hat Republicans will turn around and, like, this is why the mainstream media is so late. No, guys, it doesn't matter which horse you're talking about, NBC, Fox, whatever. They're all the same super conglomerate of bad choices. So let's just all recognize that, like, when the good news comes from them, the good news comes from them, and when the bad news comes from them, let's give them hell. And so one of the dumbest things that I think that, like, that news isn't helping with is, like, the social conversation of America. Because, like, we live in an age where everything's an op-ed now. You know, it's an opinion editorial.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the problem is like, with all this hyperbole lying around, even, like, the editorial guys are, like, trying to reinvent the wheel. And so the interesting thing being pushed right now is that there's this idea, there's this new so what wave that's going on with people, you know, because of COVID, because of the economy, because of the elections, because of all of these things, the media has decided to say that we're giving this a name, and this is the first time this has happened. And which, to that I have to say, our generation called it DGAF, like, how many years ago? How many decades ago? I mean, I've been saying dillygaff since high school. Dillygaff, does it look like I give a fuck?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it ain't new.
It's not. So for you older folks out there that are like, you might understand, like, this whole so what thing, this new so what wave of, like, we don't care about what's going on. The world's already gone to crap. So yeah, the world's broken. What of it, right? I mean, we call that the fuckets. We call that DGAF. We call it, like, I don't think it's helpful, and this goes back to my point of, like, you know, fairness doctrine conversations. It's like something like this is bad for the national conversation because it promotes that it's a lifestyle. You know, and so it's like, yes, how many people do believe this, but how many people actually care? So should we be reporting this, because is this just going to make more people care less? You know? I don't see this as any different as, like, when you give airtime to a serial killer, because then people are like, ooh, there's a terrible thing. Maybe I'm into it. You know, because people are just gluttons for punishment. So, like, yeah, I get... Yeah, no, but I get how a lot of people are at a point of, like, the world's ending every day, so what? And to that I have to say, like, why are we putting our hands up? Why are we backing down?
It's so much. There's like, oh geez, it's just so much to handle. Like, what direction could we even possibly be in? There's too many problems. So let's just put our hands up in the air kind of thing.
But I think it now comes out of the fact that, like, we kind of had our minds erased from spending 2 years indoors, you know? Yeah. So a lot of people's, like, tolerance for things, you know, I will have to say, driving full time on the mainland post-pandemic, you know how many dented cars I've seen on the 15 freeway?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, because how many people weren't behind the wheel for 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years, okay?
Yep.
I mean...
It took toll. It took its toll.
It has. Everything atrophies in that time. Not just your body. We didn't all just, like, gain 10 COVID pounds. We also maybe lost 5 IQ points because we didn't use something that we used
that was
every
such
day.
a confusing time too, where people are like, I'm just over just worrying and not knowing exactly what's going on and being told one thing but seeing something else, and it just constantly happening. People are just like, I can't handle it. Fuck it.
But see, that's the problem is that if people are recognizing that there's a problem and then they say fuck it, they're recognizing that one, the problem's there, but then two, why should I solve it? So like, and I think that that's such a colonial notion.
Well, I think
Like-
maybe thinking that the correct information, like being like, there's so many problems, but I'm not even giving the correct information to even process it. So how can I attack and help?
But that's the saddest part, because we live in a post 1984 country that does not have things like the fairness doctrine anymore. So there's no place that actually tells you what you could be doing anymore, because they're not required to. Nobody's required to. This is why I'm the unicorn of Republicans that loves regulation. Okay? Because regulation leave notes behind. Okay, because someone may inherit that job it could be their first time doing that job. If you leave rules in place, then the system protects itself.
Yeah.
There's rules on the wall. How many things do we do in this world that were put in place by rule makers before us? How to use a machine, how to shoot a camera, how to act, how to sing, how to dig a ditch, how to plant a tree, how to pick that tree. Every part of that equation has rules and process. So if we figured out how to fine-tune the engine that was America how many times over, why aren't we keeping those regulatory pieces? If you want to really get into like, oorah.
I mean, are they lost on purpose so that the people in power can have more power?
Yeah,
and
but
make more rules and shift the rules in their favor?
But that's the sad part, is there's no like secret cabal. And I know that there's that. I mean, but there's no kingmakers sitting out there that are like making it like
fair.
Yeah. No. So there are systemic problems that have gotten in the way of us going forward, but there are not like a transgenerational room of people that have been sitting on a shadow board. I mean, no, but like. Yeah, maybe two assholes in a room owning all the hamburgers in the world, but they're not like figuring out like the psychological effect of owning all the hamburgers in the room. Like that's the ego of the conspiracy theorist, thinking that they care way too much about you to want to subjugate you at that level. Human apathy goes both ways. In the same way that everyone gets the fuckets about wanting to tackle the problem, the people who actually like fix larger problems than you can fathom in your lifetime, let alone a day, like they see the speck of the masses that same way. It's like, why should they don't care about what we think? Because if they did,
and they've got the fuckets, which is making the other people kind of have the fuckets. So then everyone's just having it.
Yeah.
Just throwing the buckets back and forth.
Throwing the buckets back and forth. And you know what? And forward on to the next thing. I gotta say, you know what? I've been trying to keep from bringing his Royal Highness up, just because then, like, man, I'm gonna have to fit in more time for other candidates because I mentioned this bastard so much. And I will find things to complain about other people, but I will have to say, the diarrhea stain that is Donald Trump on the Republican Party continues as he continues to put his foot in his mouth. He recently made a statement about how he wished he could have been there during the whole January 6th raiding of the Capitol.
What?
Yeah.
He wished
he was in the crowd with those people.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, but he said terrible things like this before. But he's also like, he's trying to, this is the same time that he's also being investigated, folks, for like all of his January 6th collusion. And right now they're trying to track down all his burner phones because there's a really good chance he has burner. And he's like, I don't even know what a burner phone is. What's this weird burner phone? And it's like, damn it, you lying son of a bitch, because we all know that in your first 100 days, you had 20 burner phones just to get on Twitter because your staff kept taking your phone away. There were articles about this. Yes. Yeah. Oh my God.
Actually,
There was so
President
much coverage.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So there was a lot of coverage on the first 100 days of the Trump presidency, and one of the most common things on all sides was how often they'd take his phone away because he'd be spending more time on Twitter. He was the tweeter in chief. He spent more time on Twitter than he spent on the country.
That's insane.
That's why I don't care about anything he said or he's promised, because he didn't give us better taxes. He raised everybody's taxes.
On social media?
And then he just complained on social media, and then he wrote like 50 or some odd executive orders, and then he just slapped. He was a slumlord. That's all he was. He came in and he flipped a house like 90% under market cost. That's what he did. And then he sold it back to us. He's like, oh, you got walls you need to patch? I'm going to patch them. And then we come back and we find out he just put like packing peanuts in there. You know, that's, yeah. Why did we vote for this guy? So he's not making any good case for moderates. He's not making any good case for sensible Republicans right now. Like the verbal diarrhea of his appealing to I really think he's trying to activate this QAnon base harder, but I don't think he realizes that he's disenfranchising a lot of people and that base is falling apart. Especially since like there's a lot of word of the Freedom Convoy splitting up now, because half of the movement wants to bring it back to California, and then the other half of it thinks they should be staying in Washington D.C. 24/7, because it sounds like they're trying to get ready for another January 6th type of thing.
No way.
Yeah.
They're gonna do it again.
That's what's going on in all the channels, you know. And I'm just commenting on what I've seen, and especially for how much, and they're getting really disenfranchised with Trump. Like Truth Social, like everybody's like, why isn't he on here? Like he complained so much about being deplatformed, and then he got this app made, and he's not on it.
Not on it. That's weird. You're on it, right? You said that you're on it?
Yep. I'm not going to tell anybody what my screen name is, but...
Is it more popular as this is going?
No. It's a complicated shithole. It takes forever to get logged in. It takes forever for your posts to go up, because I'm not going to say the T word, because they literally call your post truths. You're truthing every time that you tweet or post, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah. And so no. That's to me as a sensible moderate. That's not good for the health of social media. If you have a platform that's and it goes back to another problem I have with the boomer generation. That you ever get when they try to disarm you with the whole, well, that's your truth.
Oh yeah.
I hate it. It's like, no, there are facts, and then there are lies and misinformation. Okay? So was this a fact? Or was this not a fact? I'm not dealing with that's your truth. I'm dealing, well, it's a fact.
Remember it.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So fact's a fact. You have to face those things. That's the only way we get better. That's the only way we're going to recognize the problems. All right? And speaking of people who can't recognize the problems, it turns out the European Union is not going to fully ban Russian coal imports just yet.
Oh.
Yeah, we all want to give Disney shit for showing up three weeks too late on the whole Don't Say Gay bill, like, funding money thing. But, like, all of our European allies are still buying coal from Russia. And,
wow.
And they're not going to quit until probably the end of summer. So that means Putin's got more than enough money in his coffers to go to war as long as he wants to.
Funding war? What the hell?
What do you mean with that? I mean, well, think about this. How much is American news covering the fact that they are murdering people in the streets right now?
Who's murdering people in the streets?
Russians are lining up Ukrainians in the streets in murder squads. So if you care to pay attention to international news right now, like, it's a whole different... Like, America's so caught up in its bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, this is exactly where we were with Operation Iraqi Freedom. This is exactly where we were with Desert Storm. This is exactly where we were with Vietnam. We barely half-assed did anything right. We're
assholes.
Well, we are assholes, and we let assholes do assholish things. That's the problem. Is like half the constituency of America thinks that Russia's totally cool.
Really?
Yeah, that's the like. There's a good chance that for every one person that's listening right now, there at least one other person is pro-Russia.
Oh,
yeah,
that's just a thing.
And I will have to say that historically, there's only like probably like 100 or 200 collective years you could be pro-Russia because they've been a naughty boy for most of their existence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when you kind of found your country on some like heinously evil and deceiving doctrines and stuff and that's why like they give communism a bad name because they used all these raw terrible elements. They didn't refine it into a machine. They just used it to employ force over people. And now like the youngest part of the like pro-Putin generation is finally like, no, fucks these, we're alti here, broski. And they're checking out now. So like he's pissing off the kids. Like they don't even want to stick around and protest anymore. They're like, let's just leave Russia and then it'll just be empty. And maybe we'll come back. Or maybe not.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So so at this point, like I gotta say that like for Biden actually like stripping everything down as fast as he did, for as much as we like tried to, we may be paying $6.25 a gallon at the pump, but at least we're not those guys.
Exactly.
Remember that, and here's another thing, an extension to think of, because then maybe like, people come around. I out of functionality, I was never an Apple guy because I've always been a PC power user. Like I've always been a Windows Linux guy. And in tandem. And so like to me there were a lot of cases of like Android phones made sense to me because of how accessible it was to all the other data in the world because of the platform it was on. Well, who's one of the largest suppliers of Android phones?
I don't know who.
Samsung, right? So Android so Samsung is like one of the next biggest brands next to Apple, right? Right?
Okay. I got an iPhone.
Do you know how many billions of dollars Samsung makes off of the Department of Defense contracts?
No.
Way too many. Way too many. So just remember that essentially anytime that you buy a Samsung phone, you're also buying a ballistic missile. Yeah. But then also think about this. For every time you buy an iPhone, how many children died mining the gold?
What?
Yeah. Where do you think gold comes from? We have like next to no gold left in mines anywhere in the world except Africa. Your computer, your car, all these things. The HDMI cable that connects your projector at your backyard barbecue, that's got a gold conductor in it. Where the fuck do you think that gold comes from? There's a 7-year-old kid who has to scrape a hillside in Africa to pull out small chunks every day and hopefully mold down into one ingot so his family can eat for the week. And that's why an iPhone costs $1,200, is because it costs about the soul of a child to make it. Yeah.
Oh God, when you put it like that. Oh.
This is why like if I buy a laptop, I own it for like 10 years. If I buy a phone, like it's gonna be like 5-7 years. Like everybody's like iPhone 13's out. I'm like, bro, this iPhone 12, this is the first iPhone I've ever bought because I had to come to like being consciously okay for trading. Do I buy the Samsung that pilots the missiles that shoot the children, or do I buy the iPhone that tells the children to mine the parts for the phone? So one phone kills the children actively, and then one employs children. Yeah, and think about that. Where like, if you get tomatoes in America, most of your tomatoes come from slave farms in America that still exist to this day. Okay, so every time you enjoy that tomato, someone's in bondage. Okay, people want to try to pull the whole like racism's over or fucking slavery's over. It's not. Go to a freaking farm in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay? They have literally pulled people out of chains in U-Haul trucks. Okay? This is in a modern era. This is in the 2000s.
Back, I went to, I loved this restaurant in LA, and every time I would go to LA, I'd go to this restaurant. Come to find out, like, they were trafficking people from Mexico in this restaurant, and like the restaurant got found out and they closed it down. And I was just like, What? Like a restaurant that I loved and would go every time I would go to LA, I was supporting these people that were trafficking. Like, oh my God, it's in our backyards and we don't even know it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we do know it, but...
No, well, and the sad part is we know it, and we statistically know where it is, but again, we've run away with the conspiracies because, like, half of the conservatives out there believe in that whole Save the Children movement thing and all that adrenochrome crap. So they think that, like, they're fighting some evil cabal in Hollywood that's out to, like, enslave all the children.
The blood stuff?
Yes. Yeah. It's so crazy that they believe in that crap. Meanwhile, there's real trafficking going on in the world. Yeah. Meanwhile, and then the crazier part is like, and a lot of those people that are involved in that, those are far more powerful, nonpartisan people than you would think. It's not a matter of left or right on that one. It's how wrong those people are that are doing it. But, I mean, over 240,000 women and children are trafficked a year. 240,000 trafficked a year in America, inside of America, by other Americans.
Mm-hmm. It happens a lot in Hawaii, too.
Well, and no.
It's easy to get to other places easy from Hawaii. So. Well,
then the crazier statistic is how many of the people that put them into bondage were their own family. And that's normally, up until recently, that's normally been a second world problem. Like maybe if you grow up in Guatemala or like in Chile or something like that, in like the slums, that maybe one day, like after your mother died, your uncle had to sell you because he works in the mine and he's an alcoholic. But like in America, we now have everywhere from wealthy elites to like poor country bumpkins. It's across the gamut. You have people who are down on their luck that sell their children. You have people that do it for entertainment, that are rich, that just do it. It's crazy. And it's crazy that like all of this stuff just is slowly seeping to the surface now because people got comfortable these past 2 years just being their self and hiding. And now we're seeing a lot of people's darker side come out because they're okay with that. Because they didn't have that social barrier every day telling them to hold it at bay.
Yeah, we've both kind of been desensitized a little bit, huh? With everything. We're like, wait, is this bad? I don't know. I haven't had anybody to be a soundboard, so maybe it isn't that bad.
Yeah, so mentally, we're not good. And physically, it turns out we're even worse, as it turns out that microplastics, all those lovely PFKs that have been floating in the water, that have been now coming up through the trenches of the earth. And so now it's the point to where, it's not only killing the mantis shrimp kids, it's in our lungs. Yeah. Like it's now showing up. And so that means like we're getting this as particulates from steam that we inhale. We're getting this from water. We're getting this from surf. It's enough in our systems that it's getting into our water supply.
Wow.
And so now you've got tiny little amounts of plastic floating in your body. Everybody in the world, y'all got cancer on some level.
Yeah, for real.
This is your Proposition 65 warning from the state of California. This podcast may or may not be known to cause cancer.
Good voice, Kawika.
You ever see those when you're in California? Yeah, they put those Prop 65 warnings on things, and they're just like, this may or may not cause cancer. May or may not. And this may or may not be a message from our sponsors. Moving forward. Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with a crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment, email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they're hard to trace. Don't be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Moving forward.
We have returned from the messages.
We're back.
Yep. Word up. So, folks, it's now come to that time where we just talk about even sillier things. Well, and isn't everything we talk about really silly? Because at the end of the day, I mean, either you're from the camp of existence is meaningless or existence is fruitful and multitudinous and needs to be protected. Either way, even when comparing them to just that vague dichotomy, like this is very like the things that first world people care about on a daily basis, you know? I think, I think that's why, like, we entice you with the idea that there's going to be candy at the end of every episode by, like, either talking about the silly shit you're into. But, kids, it's going to be a healthy balance of, like, this is not the Lucky Charms podcast. If you want that, go listen to, like, Ever Trending Story. Those guys are awesome. That's a free plug. Like, I just listened to them. I wasn't paid to tell you that. But if you want to, like, hear the news told by a bunch of people who turn it into a LARP. So, like, if you want the news explained as a live-action role-play filk song, yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Do you know what filk is?
Huh? No. I've never heard of
Filk is fictional folk music.
fictional folk music. Okay, so it's like telling us.
No,
story.
so it's like, imagine a universe where we live in Dungeons and Dragons and now Neil Young writes a song.
Oh.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's like the story of the bard right there. Like it's know, so these are real life bards that turn around and like sing songs about dragons and elves and like maidens afar away. Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. No, I have known to go to a few filk concerts in my time. I'm a nerdy little kid when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, come on, the first concert I went to at 13, my dad took me to see Styx and Bad Company. It was over after that. Like, yeah, no, that's the kind of thing. Like, and then after that was what? A whole bunch of filk concerts at conventions, and then Kenny Chesney. He was a really good showman. But anyways, I digress. Talking about silly shit. It's the silly shit part of the hour. So, hey, it's been kind of like in the bubbling discussion lately. Cancel culture. Is it real? Is it enforceable? Like, Americans want to know, Sarah. What do you know?
Well, I don't think cancel culture really exists. I think it's more of let's silence them for a little bit and like put them in timeout for a little bit until we forget, and then they just kind of reappear. Because that's what it seems like things are happening, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think...
But then it's like after a few years, they kind of just reappear, and sometimes it's forgotten of like why they got canceled in the first place.
I think we should like go to Reddit for this because like I think like in times like this when people need like a specific set of rules for enforcement, like you got to go to a tribunal. And the best hive mind, like I'd let the nerds on Reddit figure it out because they would like all the minds on Reddit. If you went, hey, what would be like the if cancel culture had legal proceedings and time served and all that shit, like what would it be? You know, because I think about that part of cancel culture a lot because it's kind of about one of our main topics for the pop culture portion and also some other people because, you know, like Will Smith was recently crying like, oh my God, they're going to cancel me. I don't want to get canceled. Don't take away Bel Air. You know, like he's worried because you know what? He recognizes he doesn't have that scary gravitas of power that like Bill Cosby had, that he could scare 70 women in the news media into just lying for him. You know,
different time, right? Now we got
that, media. And I mean, even though Will Smith may have drank some of that Scientology Kool-Aid for a while because of Jada, you know, but even then, not a terrible human being for as far as maybe a little braggadocious, maybe a little hot-headed, maybe needs to learn how to fucking go to therapy so he could talk to his wife better.
Absolutely.
But outside of having the same old keeping up with the Joneses psychological problems of your average American male. Like, I don't think that he's, on a scale of 1 to Cosby, yeah, he's like a Michael Jordan, So like, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, yes, cancel culture is good where it gives repercussions to people that do something that's just not okay. But then again, I think that it's kind of like there should be some kind of line, right? People should be punished by the degree of what they've done.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I think that this, cancel culture is almost in a way bullying and could, in a way, kind of be really kind of like self-destructive, It's going to make people afraid to even speak their mind.
Cancel culture is just the new term for tribal shunning. We have been shunning since the dawn of time. Okay? So how we do said shunning, that's a craft. You want to learn how to ghost someone, shun someone, or give someone an ice, talk to your auntie. All right? Because, oh, man. You want to learn? I learned from some cold, hard titas, I tell you. Like, no, like, that's...
Women know how to shun.
No, well, my auntie was the first one to tell me. Hawaiians have the warmest hearts, but the coldest shoulders. Mm-hmm. Okay? So it's best you stay on the right side. So you stick close to their heart, you're always going to be fine. But you get close enough to that shoulder, ice, bruh.
That's very Puerto Rican, too.
Sorry. I got interrupted by my Amazon Alexa. It, for some reason, thought I was talking to. Yeah, but I didn't even set it to Alexa. I set it to Ziggy because it has a Ziggy feature.
Now mine's going off, too, because I...
Yeah. Let's hope I didn't pick that up. I will fix that some. What were we talking about right before that moment?
We were talking about shunning.
Shunning, yeah.
And, like, it's a very Puerto Rican thing. For Puerto Rican women are very good at
Every culture calls it something different, and many cultures that are still attached to the more ancient values of the old world, pre-colonialism, they know how to use shunning correctly. Mm-hmm. Okay, because Americans don't have culture, that's the problem. No, they don't. That's why white versus black exists. All right? It exists because you've stripped all those people of their heritage, and then you gave them a value assessed by the color of the meat. And that's it. The white meat, dark meat, get in the line.
Yep.
And then segregation occurred. So then you have a blank slate. You have warm mashed potatoes for 2 centuries. So you have people who are told to assimilate. Mm-hmm. So they don't. So what do? They reject all the values of their heritage and their culture. And then they invent stupid ones to replace it. And that's how you get Easter. No, I'm serious. You know where the rabbits come from in Easter?
No, where did it come from?
Well, it's an ancient pagan holiday. That's even the name. Yoster. Yes, Yoster. Okay. Yeah. No, but that's your yeah. And which, I mean, we're like a Sunday away from Easter Sunday. I totally forgot it's late Sunday this year. As an atheist, I'm a bad Catholic. I'm not a practicing Catholic, but I do kind of remember my Catholic math. And this year's we have a late Easter because we had late penance this year. So yeah, no, that's why Mardi Gras is Fat Tuesday, and then you Ash Wednesday, and then you're like, all right, nothing. It's time for Lent. And then one day you grow up and you give up Lent for Lent. And you know what? I kind of thought that was like the me laughing at the world atheist thing to do. And then like 10 years later, I'm like, you know what? I may not be a Catholic anymore, but like I could totally do Lent because it's a good way of like getting bad habits out of your system.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the interesting thing about the amount of days. Yeah, because it only takes like 20 days to kick a habit, right? And then like Lent is like 30, 40 days. So it's like over the amount, so like you're guaranteed to lose the habit. So there's even some kind of like scientific usefulness there. Yeah. But anyways, back to the subject of canceling.
Yeah.
All right. So the problem is Americans don't know how to execute tribal shunning because they don't have a tribe. They're too busy trying to decide what color the tribe is instead of just like going, hey, if we're really a melting pot, we have to absorb all these cultural values. And guess what?
Yeah.
If we embraced all the cultural values before we assess the color of our skin, then we'd realize that we already know this practice and we know how to put it into practice.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, realistically, I think that I dig you on the sense of like what's the statute on canceling? What's the actual like judgment? What's your time served? Because like here's the thing, when like white America started coining cancel culture as a mainstream thing, you know, it's like I feel as a person of color like we still do tribal shunning pretty well because like my grandfather, he walked into Jerome's Furniture right after Vietnam, and he had his he had all his pay from going out to war and not dying, and he wanted to buy new furniture. He sat in that furniture store for an hour. Even at points in times, there were no other customers in the store, and the white customers would show up, and they would walk right past him. He would go up, ask for help. Oh, we'll be right with you. And they pass him. So then he went back on base, and he bought all of his furniture on base at an ugly-ass furniture store on base. Because at least they would treat him like a human being over there. I have never bought furniture from Jerome's in San Diego because if that's how they're going to receive our veterans, as they're going to receive my grandfather, that's how they're going to receive Hawaiians that they probably thought was Mexicans or something. I mean, shit, my grandmother, when she was putting in time on the East Coast in the Marine Corps back during that era, like she said they just lumped them in with black folk.
Yeah.
It was just you're
brown. Any kind of shade of brown, you're just brown.
Well, and they wouldn't count us as Asian because they didn't know really what a Mexican was, kind of, because they weren't like really enslaving them because like España already had enough control of that. So like that was their own like enslaving themselves game, you know. But no, so like we've kind of detached ourselves from like tribal shunning. We've created this superficial system. And there's no enforcement. Like, look, case in point, Kevin Spacey. Look how fast he was already making movies again. 2 years.
Yeah.
How much rape did they, like, has been described to date? How many to the point of, like, and then on top of that, how recent the allegations are and how well-founded they are.
Slap in the face, it's so recent that it's like,
that kid in Nova Scotia.
How did we forget about already so quickly? No.
Well, it's because he went to Italy, so he's not making movies, and that's the thing. So then, does American canceling, is that even respected abroad? Because then the Italians are like, we did not hear that the Kevin Spacey was canceled. We're taking it back. And then maybe they take it back, but nobody takes America seriously. So they, what is he in trouble for? We don't know. We go make it a movie. And it's like, because all of our news media doesn't care about. I mean, seriously, like, look what they did to Chaplin. They threw Chaplin out of this country for being a communist before throwing him out of this country for being a pedophile.
I don't know. Wait, who's Chaplin?
Charlie Chaplin.
I don't know this story.
One of the greatest American actors of all time from the. You've never.
I didn't know. I don't know the story of him.
No, but you're aware of Charlie Chaplin, though?
Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay.
But
about how many teenage girls he either raped or got pregnant during his tenure as a celebrity?
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh yeah. And these were regular things that came to trial. Like in the public view, like Chaplin gets 14-year-old girl knocked up, all in the courtroom and in the papers today. Yeah, and they reported it because back then you could say shit like that about men in the papers, and men would just be like, "Yep, just another Tuesday."
Oh, God.
Exactly. So, like, nobody cared about that. But then the second that, like, he could be a communist sympathizer, we're like, get him out of here. So, like, really, you want... It just...
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Who's control?
That's why I felt that like that Roman Polanski was just such a like, yeah, okay, cool. No, you should have just like, you should have put him in freaking Guantanamo or freaking Monterey. Okay, go put him in the shoe at Monterey. All right, just make him sit in there and stare at like 12 feet of space for the rest of his life because he's fucking crazy. All right, yeah, no, just no. But so getting back to that point of like, okay, so if it's something you do but nobody takes you to court, but then the court of public opinion decides to pass judgment on you, then what should it be? So like nobody's been successful to pin down Kevin Spacey, but we get enough in civil suits, and civil suits are just a monetary admission of guilt. Because here's the thing. If you were like, I have to say that any time that fans come to like fight on behalf of a celebrity they don't know, here's the thing. If someone has enough integrity to fight something, they're going to fight it. Okay? You really want to get into like the psychological like of a good human being, like they're going to fight it. All right? But like it's not going to be in a way to just like throw it all, just the way that like people like Spacey, even like, dare I say it, the Michael Jackson camp responded to everything. And it's just like, nothing ever convinces me that like these people are ever going to serve penance for the things that they've done.
Well, no.
And then, and we create new rules for celebrities all the time. What can you do as a celebrity? You know? So then it's like, how much celebrity does like, Whoopi Goldberg said Will Smith's not canceled. And if everybody's favorite, you know, like interdimensional space being, Whoopi Goldberg, black mom, like, you know, token everything to us, says that he's not canceled, he's probably not canceled. Yeah. You know? I mean, two toxic guys duked it out, and that's, you know, and then that's the thing, is like, I will have to say that this is like another terrible case of over-reporting black on black crime, though. Because like for how many dumb things like this do white people do to each other all day? And we're like, yeah, whatever. And then it's like, Will Smith, you need to reconsider your whole life. And it's like, didn't we just watch the Kardashians do things like this like for 6 seasons? Isn't this just like another episode of the Jersey Shore? Like,
it's true.
Didn't I grow up watching Donahue and Geraldo? Like, yeah. So, I mean, there's a certain degree that, like, I guess we as a public, we have to figure out, like, okay, so, like, Louis C.K. Louis C.K. wins the Grammy for Best Comedy Album. So, like,
too soon.
Yeah.
Too soon. This just happened where he.
Yeah, and it's if we're gonna even get to like here, if there was like a term for sentence, okay, so it's just like, I mean, like even supposing that like the number is closer to the real number and not like half of the real number, then let's just say a baker's dozen of women complain, right? Right? So then if this was a real crime, which it is a real crime to show off your wing wang in public to people, how much time do you serve and how many fines do you pay for indecent exposure?
Yeah. And it's not just about indecent exposure, it's that he was in a position of power.
He was.
Which made it just more malicious and more criminal. You know, he was taking advantage. It wasn't just him being a sicko. It was him being a manipulative, malicious sicko.
Yeah. Because he's a grown-ass man, so there's no, it's a joke. No, you don't. No, that is not a joke. Can you tell it in church? No. So you can't tell it at work.
Yeah, and I just think it was really messed up. Like, it was a well-known thing in the community for comedians. That it was like, oh, that's what he does. He likes to pleasure himself in front of women. That's just him. So it was brushed off to the side for many years. That's also what makes it even more like, so it got brushed off to the side, and then when they came out, then he gets canceled, but then 2 years later, it's totally fine. It's really just, I mean, it is a slap in the face to those women, 100%. Oh, and I think the Grammys should have some kind of rules to like some kind of decency rules and like some kind of ethics to say, you know what, we're not going to have people run and they cannot win these awards if they just did that, especially in their own like community as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and it doesn't help the health of their own communities either. I mean, it doesn't,
Yeah.
it really, because like now what happens for all the guys that look up to Louis C.K. that have a tendency to be more douchey, like they're going to turn around and be like, oh, well, I guess, all right, so I can, yeah. So how many rapes makes you a Cosby? How many wing wang showings makes you a Louis? And then and then how many and then the worst part is like, I mean, look how fast Kevin Spacey got let off the hook because all of it was homosexual based activity.
Mm-hmm.
Because homosexual victims are taken less serious.
Exactly.
I mean, it's even harder. It's hard. Like more than 90% of rapes go unreported in America. Because of how much
it's handled.
Yes, because male dominant culture. Like this is coming from a dude whose mom works in the police system, whose family are bureaucrats, who just like I would like this stuff, seeing this stuff like in storage, like learning about these things. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like and so then there's no one making any sensible like accountability for any of this.
No. And Louis C.K. like situation, I definitely think he should be canceled. But I do think the cancel culture though, I mean we're putting all these celebrities on a pedestal, right? And we're like, they have to be so perfect. I think too, we need to just like, they're humans too. I think it's kind of to just wrong somebody and cancel them for something like maybe they did 20 years ago, like something that they said, I think there should be kind of line where it's like, okay, we have to let people be human as well.
Yeah,
and people mistakes and know that they're not going to like pay for a mistake that they've actually learned from, because then people aren't going to speak their mind. We're not going to get people's opinions. People are going to be afraid to talk. And if people are afraid to talk, then conversations can't happen. Like, let's say I'm wrong in something, but I still want to voice it. If I voice it, I can learn from somebody. If I'm too scared to voice my opinion, I'm going to take that nasty opinion to the grave and never able to grow. So, I mean, there's this weird balance that I think that needs to happen when it comes to cancel culture.
Yeah, but I feel that like this hasn't changed in decades. Like, because the funny part is like we're acting like it's a new thing, and it's like,
well, I think it's just.
I feel that we could turn back the clock. Hear me out on this one.
The difference is it's being handled differently just because of like social media.
Is our conversation
publicly shun somebody like you could like. I could not publicly shun a celebrity before and have my words be heard. But now anybody can kind of be heard, So I think it's changed
to a degree. I mean, yeah, especially since like we grew up in the post-truth age, so you have a lot less representation of people's thoughts. But like, I like to a degree though, like I feel like we're having the same conversation that like radio shows were having about Ted Danson.
What was that?
Right? Yeah. Whoopi Goldberg's ex-husband, the nice place guy.
Oh, what did he do?
He did blackface at the Oscars.
Oh.
Yeah. He did. Yeah. So like, and then it was just like, is he canceled? But he's married to a black lady. Is he? Yeah. We've had conversations like this in culture before. Like, I mean, hell, country music has this conversation all the time when it comes to the Hank Williams family. Because like, all three generations of the Williams were just like the most racist people on the planet. Yet they're like Grand Ole Opry pedigree history. And like Hank 2 and Hank 3 literally had like, they got even more debased than like, at least he had like public decorum, He was that like classic Southern racist to a degree of like, he could be racist to your face without having to say nasty things, but you could feel the venom coming off of him. But whereas his kids would like literally like write songs about how to ship him back.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's really like, So like, I mean, American culture's pretty much had this in place since we've had yellow news coverage of celebrities and people in the social sphere. So, I mean, it's kind of and I mean, really, it's the only way to hold our heroes accountable.
Mm.
You know, how do the adoring fans keep someone accountable? You know?
Yeah. You definitely need to hold people accountable. But I think that at some point we do need to realize, like, these people are just people, you know? Like, I don't know. I've made mistakes.
Yeah.
I think everybody's made mistakes. So
absolutely.
I definitely believe like there should be repercussion for what people do. But at some point, I think it overflows to like bullying and kind of just like attacking.
I don't know about that though. I don't.
Mistakes. Depending on what the mistake is, you know.
I'm not entirely sure if I would side with the whole calling it bullying factor, because I as being a person of color, to where I have always had to live to a higher ethical standard than my white peers.
Well, me too.
Yeah, because we're the first person in the room that they're gonna blame for stealing something.
Well, exactly, and I've always felt like even in school, like you have to be smarter, you got to be faster just to get looked at, you know, just to be recognized 20 times better than the white person, just to be on the same level as them.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I feel like sometimes it goes a little bit too far. But I think it's because of social media. Like, I feel like sometimes it gets to a point of bullying, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that some people get over-canceled. Like, you have someone who says something.
Yeah. Overly done, where it's like, okay, it's something bad, but you know what? They're learning from their mistakes. They owned up to it, because it's always about how somebody handles bad behavior as well, you know?
Absolutely.
It's an interesting concept, though.
It is. And I think that, like, especially now with, like, coming back on, like, because you remember, like, James Gunn nearly lost his job for, like, a 10-year-old tweet.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And then everybody had to go, oh, well, yeah, James Gunn did grow up, and he's kind of a good guy, so I guess he already served his time.
Yeah.
Go make a DC Comics movie and then come back and you're uncanceled. You know? And then was he really canceled? No. Like, I feel like Joss Whedon, canceled. Rightfully so. Keep him there. Fuck that guy. Like, that guy, done. Like, I'm never going to watch Buffy again. I can't. Like, that was my Harry Potter as a kid. Like, everybody else is in the Harry Potter, I was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Angel, all of that stuff. Like, I looked up to Joss Whedon so damn much. And then and I used him as a template for, like, trying to be a man who could respectfully write female characters, and then to only find out that it's just a formula shtick that he learned, and that he treats women like shit. You know? And, like, I don't care if he's, like, the best husband ever. The fact of the matter is, when you treat women on set the way you do, it doesn't matter how good of a husband or how good of a father you are, how you act to other people.
If you're shitty, you're shitty.
Exactly. But so interesting thing to tie into all this is that Twitter is now wiping embeds of deleted tweets. So before, you could embed somebody's tweet to essentially keep a backup copy of it because it would keep the text data.
Yeah.
And now Twitter's made it to where if you delete your tweet, then all the embeds delete behind it.
Huh, interesting.
So
what do you think about that? Because then people can say whatever they want and just be like, oh, it's your word against mine. There's no proof of actually looking it up. So,
well, to a degree, I'm kind of okay with this because, you know, you can predate photos on Facebook and posts on Facebook. If you wanted to make a post for, you know, January 1st, 2012, you can. You know, you can backdate a post. So it's like, so if you wanted to create fake history, you can already do it on the internet. You know?
I see.
So then so deleting history is just another feature of the internet as far as things are concerned.
Yeah.
So I will say though, in the end, like, I don't think it's entirely matters in the end, because we're the generation that screenshots everything. So,
Yeah, that's
so it's like
doesn't matter if you delete it. I already screenshot it.
screenshotted it, bro. So like,
I never.
yeah, and you can try to tell people all you want that it's fake, but there's 40 other people on Reddit who already screenshotted it too.
Yep.
So it's just, no.
Yeah.
You know what? All right.
Really.
I think we've rambled enough about like how we feel about cancellation. How about we send off on some pleasant thoughts? How about things that we don't want to cancel? What you been watching? What you watch?
Oh, so I saw Waterman, the documentary about the Duke.
About Duke Hanamoku, the man.
Oh my God, the Duke is so much more awesome than I already thought he was.
Yeah,
like,
so
the documentary was so well done, and like I think that it's really going to open people's eyes to just what a phenomenal human being the Duke was.
They really don't realize how much Duke was.
How much he did, what he did, he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way spoke, the way he just presented himself, he was just the epitome of aloha. Just love, respect. And he did well in his life. He is a legend. It was such a good movie.
There wouldn't be essentially like half of the like Summer Olympics if it weren't for him. Like yeah.
Surfing. There would not be the surfing Olympics if it wasn't for the Duke. That was his dream to get surf into the Olympics.
Yeah, no, well, not only surf, but he introduced swimmers to like what is now evolved into standard freestyle swimming. So that standard like arm over arm motion where you actually like keep your nose above the water and everything, like how most island kids are taught how to swim. So it's
that's just how I swam and felt good and felt it in the water kind of thing, and I was. Beautiful.
Yeah, no, I definitely I haven't seen it yet. Here was produced by Jason Momoa, so he's part of the producing team on that one. Super stoked about that.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I definitely like to see like I'm more interested in like the trials and tribulations phase, like especially when like going back to the Olympics and then losing and then like you want something interesting, like watch the episode of This Is Your Life.
Oh,
you remember that show?
They do that. Yeah.
Did they
bring that back. That's kind of like, well, I don't want to give it away, but I guess it's not really giving away because it's like the first few minutes they show it. Yeah. They kind of use that, him from that show to backtrack of like all of things.
Really?
It was really, really well done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
You gotta see it. That's one that's like, ooh, you gotta go see that one.
Well, dig it. Anything else you seeing?
Yesterday I saw the new Sonic with my daughter. Portion of it was filmed on Oahu. I actually auditioned for that movie. So it's always cool to like watch the movie and be like, oh, try to pick out the character that you auditioned, for, which I think the character got cut. But it was with Jim Carrey. I forgot what the other actors' names are, but it was a cute movie. I loved the first Sonic, so I was pretty stoked about the second one coming out.
Dig it.
How about you? Did you see anything recently?
I finally caught up on The Thing About Pam on NBC.
I want to see.
It's Renee Zellweger's best role in a long time.
She doesn't even look like I didn't realize it was Renee Zellweger when I first saw
and this is coming from someone I thought like I watched me some Dateline, okay? So when this whole thing happened the first time, I was watching. And then when the podcast came out, I listened to it. And so then when they announced this movie, I was just excited that I was just like, cool, they're going to do a Pam Hupp movie. A series shit. Oh my God. And then it was like, wow, Blumhouse is doing this with Dateline co-producing. This is going to be great. And then they were like, Renee Zellweger. And I was like, whoa, shit. They like throwing out all the stops. So like, it's,
Renee Zellweger anything in years, right? I haven't really seen her doing anything. So it's really cool that she's making her comeback in something that's, already having really great reviews.
Yeah, no, I'm digging it. I'm looking forward to the next episode. There's now like I'm kind of like interested even more in it now is the secrets of the Playboy Mansion show. After they wrapped their 10th episode, because it was only promised to be like a 10-part series. The second that like I guess like episode 7 aired and like more women came forward.
Oh, really?
And they're like, let's get you on the show. So then now there's like this talking after show that's kind of spawned out of it. So it's kind of like, it's got these very like, what was that?
What platform is that? Where's that streaming on?
That's on A&E. So you got to either have a cable subscription or an A&E subscription. As someone who has to pay for internet, like, gotta pay for that cable because they trick you into buying cable because it's cheaper if you get the combos. Oh, man. Some things never change. I haven't really watched much else since I did finally catch up on Superman and Lois on the CW. It's the only good superhero TV show that's working out for me these days because like the Flash is kind of doing it better. Like they're fixing the story, but like there's a reason why they keep losing a few million viewers every year. It's just not. It's not. No. I was accepting when they took Grant Gustin from 90210 and made him Barry Allen. I was like, he's dorky, lovable, but still kind of hot. He could work, I guess. But when they did Black Lightning dirty and they just like. It's like, great, we finally have successful, like, people of color content, and you're canceled. And it's like, guys, you got, like, I love Legends of Tomorrow, and they keep giving plenty of seasons to that, and that's a show that was been doomed to get canceled every year. Nearly every year. Legend, like, the first year it came out, they're like, yeah, we're totally not doing a season 2. We don't have a budget for it. So they made this super crazy cliffhanger ending, and then the network's like, that's the best closing night numbers we've had. Season 2, you're getting it. And they're like, but then, like, Black Lightning has 4 rough episodes in a row because it talks social issues, and the numbers dip on the white viewership, maintain on the people of color viewership, but then white numbers dip, and then that's the problem is Nielsen ratings, and those don't represent enough Americans. That only represents like 2% of America. So you have like less than like 55,000 people representing the choices of 300 plus million people who watch all the that's equitable disparity right there for you. So I'm glad that at least Superman and Lois is at least like, it's a good story. Like I will have to say that's like I've always felt the most attraction to Superman, not out of the whole invincible factor. It's the Moses story of being a refugee.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is, And when people go like, oh, you're an atheist, but then what do you believe in? I'm like, well, I believe in like Superman. And they're like, Superman's stupid. What the hell would you believe in Superman for? I'd be like, well, you believe in, like, the story of Moses, right? Tell me there's a difference between the story of Superman and the story of Moses right now. And I'll give you $100. There is no difference. All right?
I never thought of that.
Baby gets put in a bassinet and sent down a river in hopes of landing in a new civilization and teaching them a better path forward.
Moses, yeah.
Dying planet. Scientists work together. And through love, they have the first child born without technology for the first time in centuries. They then take this divine being, put it in a vessel, and send it across outer space to land on Earth and teach its people a better way. There ain't no difference there, okay? No, and Spider-Man's just like the youth gospel of Christ. It's no different. Like, with great power comes great responsibility is all of the apocrypha that they cut out of the Bible. So, like, if you ever want to, like understand, like, Jesus as a kid, like, Doubting Thomas wrote a gospel about it, but then, like, the church cut it out, like, back in, like, friggin' like 200 years ago. And so then, it's the same story. Like, like Peter Parker and Jesus Christ, no different. Yeah.
It's true.
So yeah, man. So I don't know. I think they're doing the characters well on Superman and Lois. They had Bizarro this year. I don't know how much into comics you are. I definitely want to talk more comics on the show because, like,
I used to do comics back when I was a teenager. I used to do a lot of comics. I used to be obsessed with anime and like the anime comics. Like what was it? Yes, I used to be obsessed with those. All of those, like what was it? Tenchi Muyo and like the Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z and Gundam Wings.
Gundam. You were into Gundam? No way. See?
Oh, that was my show.
You know what? We're gonna have to cover all these things. More rabbit holes to go down. Because sometimes
I was a geek.
Yes, yes. Because maybe when we might have like a bonus episode here where we just take a break from all of like the what's plaguing us and just like go down a fun hole for a while.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
we should.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could totally get down with some Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, maybe we should. If the show was announced like the Dragon Ball Z episodes. Last time on Rabbit Holes.
Oh my God. Open it up.
Do like Don LaFontaine meets Dragon Ball Z.
The big egg, a Super Saiyan, like.
Yeah. No, and then but in true fashion, if we were really gonna be Dragon Ball Z, it would be half the show would be catching up on the last episode.
That's true,
and then a fifth of the show would be commercials.
Yeah.
And then another fifth of the show would just be people charging in the corner. Yeah. And then one of them and then they'll start like reflecting in their heads. And then after they're done reflecting, then maybe they'll fire the first shot, and then and then it'll be next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
and then you're like, what?
That was so good.
Tricked us. No, yeah, and then that's why like I'm glad I never bought all those DVDs, because that like when that was like finally done and when that series was finally done and over with, we were just approaching the era of DVDs in America. I had a cousin that bought all the original Dragon Ball seasons on DVD. It was so many DVDs.
I watched it. I bought all of the Escaflones, all the Sailor Moons, and I think the Gundam Wings, like the ones that were like the Japanese ones, like subtitled ones, those were like the really good ones.
Dig it. My sister and I collected all of the Sailor Moons up to Super S on VHS.
Yeah, I think I still have them at VHS at my mom's house in Michigan.
And then I had like a lot of like one shots that I'd get like a small piece of something here or there. But
are we dressing up for Comic-Con?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Comic-Con's going back to like the full thing. Yeah. Oh my God. We should totally have like we should figure out our solo cosplays and then maybe a team up too. I don't know, what's a good team up that we could do?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's San Diego, so there's already lots of weird Alice in Wonderland stuff in San Diego. So let's just not do any of the rabbit related stuff.
No. Plus we want to involve the whole team.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What would work for the whole team? We could
we gotta think.
We could do like Eternals, or we could do I don't know. Brad would be a really good Luke Cage. We could do Defenders.
Defender?
Yeah, you could tell like that way we could like cosplay Bounding and we don't have to like wear anything heavy. We could just be lightweight, I don't know.
This will be fun now.
Yeah, just start thinking. Yeah, start thinking about that. That's yes. And it's time to think about saying good day to everyone and sending them on their Sunday.
Yes, everybody. Hop along, rabbits. Hop along. Thanks for stopping by.
Oh, you know what? Now that makes me think that we'll have to like start creating like alternate theme music now. You know, because I like our theme music, but it's just like, it's just something I found from a curated patch of stock. So it's like, is it just gonna float us through the first season, or could we end up seeing our own song? I don't know.
Our own song. We should probably have our own theme song. So when you come out here, we write a little theme song for Rabbit Holes.
Want to do a thing? Well, I mean, you know what? That would totally be us, because everybody else. Because I was thinking about that recently. I was thinking about all the other like podcasts, how they'll talk at the beginning, and I even had a couple podcasts originally where it'd be like, here's music that plays in the background, and I tell you what happens on this show every week because you might be listening to this for the first time. And I'm like, And then I was listening to Ever Trending Story, and I was just like, you know what? They open up with a Filk song. Like, we could totally.
We both are karaoke lovers, so
yeah, we could probably. You know what we could do? We could probably like take karaoke tracks or something, and then like remix them as parodies or something. Yeah, we'll figure out something like that.
We're fun. Yeah.
Yep. That's new mission, new rabbit hole, new adventure to go on. All that and more next time. Thank you, folks, for coming on this crazy weekly journey into everything and anything all at once. Sometimes we get there, and sometimes we go more places than one. As always, with me, the lovely Miss Sarah Rodriguez. You can find her on the social medias at Mother Maui TV. Likewise, me, her Morocco mole, Kawika Hoke. Thank you, guys. Enjoy your Sunday. Aloha.
Bye.
Rabbit Holes is a Manawa production. This episode was produced by Kawika Hoke and Sarah Rodriguez. Make sure to subscribe and follow on your favorite podcast platforms to add our weekly episodes to your queue.